Hi, so this is going to be the second part to the kind of little either video or maybe a couple videos I'm making about endometriosis and my journey with getting diagnosed. So in the last part of this video I was working on, I went over what endometriosis is, why I thought I had endometriosis, what process I've gone through up until this point to kind of explore this potential diagnosis, what treatments I've tried, all that kind of stuff is what the first part of this video is about. Now I'm going to be getting into my surgery and my recovery and then where I go from here. So I had my surgery exactly a week ago. Today is Friday the 17th and I had my surgery on Friday the 10th. Actually around this time as well. I had it around 11 o'clock in the morning and it lasted for an hour. So the morning of my surgery, and the night before, to be fair, I was really anxious. I had a lot of anxiety going into this surgery. I was kind of spiraling a little bit, just worried about what if something went wrong, or what if I didn't do the prep right, or what if, I don't know. I was my brain was spiraling. I was totally spiraling. And thankfully, the night before, I called one of my best friends and I talked to her for a while, and that helped me just sort of calm down and not feel as overwhelmed with everything and as stuck in my head about all the things that I was worried about that could go wrong. Just gonna grab my water for a second because this is gonna be a lot of talking. I'm gonna need it. So that was the night before surgery. The morning of, my mother was bringing me to the surgery, but I talked to my dad in the morning. I was sharing how anxious I was. I definitely am thankful that I have people in my life who love me, who support me, who I was able to and still am able to talk to about this stuff, even if they personally can't relate to it. I think that is so helpful. If you're going through this journey, it's so emotional. It can be very hard. It can be very painful, obviously. And so having literally anybody in your corner can be there for you, who can talk to you, who can just be with you through it by your side is huge. So I digress. Morning of surgery. I didn't really sleep well the night before. The night before I was kind of doing a lot of last minute prep, which for me was I was finishing cleaning my bedroom because I knew I wasn't really going to be able to clean, a whole lot. It just wasn't going to be something I was going to want to do after surgery. I was packing my bag for the hospital, which I will talk about what I put in my bag. And I was just sort of making everything as aligned as I could make it for what I thought I would need after surgery. So my surgery bag, I packed, I think the biggest thing for me was making sure I packed clothes that I was going to feel comfortable in. So I wore clothes to the hospital. I wore pajamas, a sweatshirt, very comfortable because I had a really early morning arrival. I was there by 9:15, I think. So, I just kind of went with it. But I made sure to bring a nice loose t-shirt, even looser pajama pants to wear afterwards. I brought fuzzy socks, so I would just have something really comfortable to wear. And I brought a change of underwear in case I had any staining from, because sometimes you can bleed after surgery. I just kind of wanted to cover all my bases. And so that's what I did as far as clothes. I brought, just sort of the basics, chapstick, lotion, because I couldn't put lotion. They didn't want me to put lotion on myself the morning of surgery. So if my hands were dry coming out of surgery, I brought lotion. I brought hand sanitizer, sunglasses, AirPods, a book to read when I was waiting before the surgery. Just sort of all of those little things. I brought some Gas X because I've heard that was helpful after surgery to deal with the leftover gas, because they pump you up with gas to do the surgery. tissues, I brought some pads in case I was bleeding. So I kind of came as prepared as I could be. I ended up not using most of it, but I was glad I had it anyways. So prepared for the surgery. Morning of, you can't eat, so I'm basically just like brush my teeth. I have to shower again because my doctor wanted me to wash with HiPAA the night before and the morning of. So I shower, I brush my teeth, I don't put on lotion, I don't put on deodorant, and I get dressed and we're out the door. So mine was going to be at a hospital that my doctor was like affiliated with and would do surgeries at. So it's like the major hospital in the state that I'm in. So I went over there and got checked in, and then I was taken back to, where I would be pre-op when they start, giving you any medications you have to take before surgery. They have you do a pregnancy test. They get you changed into your gown and your pants and your socks and whatever. And so the whole pre-surgery, the whole hullabaloo pre-surgery, which went well. It was just definitely different for me because I've not had surgery there as an adult, so it was definitely a different experience. And thankfully, like, the nurses were really lovely as always. I feel like nurses are just so incredible, and so that was really good. And I spoke to my doctor before the surgery, which helped me feel better, a little more calmed down, and so that was really helpful. And I spoke to an anesthesiologist, and then it was pretty much time to go in. Because I've had 2 other surgeries this year, so I know my body as far as like how I usually respond to surgery and anesthesia. So I kind of filled them in on the concerns I had, which is really good. And I did that all like in the pre-surgery appointment, like before I went in, and then kind of even in the operating room before I was under, I was still kind of, they were asking me some questions, and I was still kind of just filling them in on what I was okay with and what I wasn't. So I don't know what happens for other people's surgeries. I was awake going into the operating room. I literally walked up in there, because they have to position you kind of strange. And I've had 2 hip surgeries this year, so my doctor, knowing that, was like, we're gonna make sure that we position you in a comfortable spot for the surgery so it hopefully won't hurt your hips too much. So I don't know if everyone else is awake going into the surgery and like getting on the operating table and getting positioned. I was for my surgery. So I guess the different part about these surgeries is that they have your legs in stirrups, but they're kind of like slings that they kind of have you like angled out at knees bent, and your arms will be out on these like long, they're like extensions to the operating table that you put your arms out on. So I was awake for all this. Very weird experience, like having people basically just like kind of stripping me, covering me with warm cloths, just positioning my limbs. And they were all very respectful, very sweet, constantly like, are you okay here? Like, is this comfortable? Like, please let us know. We will change it. Like, do you need more towels? Are you warm enough? Like, very, very nice, very respectful, like, very like wanting me to have as good of an experience as possible, which I really appreciated. Still very strange, very weird experience. I guess especially as somebody who, like, I haven't had kids, I haven't, given birth, I haven't had that experience where you're kind of like just letting it all out and a bunch of people are in the room. I've only had like gynecology visits with like me and then my gynecologist, and like that's it. So it was very weird having this experience. Was strange. But then it was over and they put the mask over you with the oxygen, and you get the anesthesia goes right in you and you're done. You're out, which is so quick. So my surgery happened and I wake up in recovery, and I woke up, I think it had to be like 30 minutes to an hour later. I have a very slow for getting out of anesthesia. Like, I think usually a lot of people wake up within a couple minutes. They wake up quite soon after surgery. I took a while to wake up, which is pretty standard for me from the other surgeries I've gotten done. So that wasn't like strange. You know, they had me on fluids, all the things. The nurse was lovely, the nurse who helped me in the recovery room. I think having surgery can be quite a humbling experience, because once you're waking up for anesthesia, like, depending on how you adjust from anesthesia, I have a rough time. So, you know, like, I needed help to go to the bathroom, which I've had in other surgery this year because with my hips. Um, and that's a weird experience. Like, I guess having people do things with you that are usually quite private activities, but you need help, but there's no way around it. It is what it is. And thankfully, you know, again, these nurses are incredible. This is what they do every day. So as somebody who felt weird about it, and for anyone else who might be getting the surgery done and might feel weird about that, I kind of have to keep telling myself that, like, this is what they do. Like, they are so used to doing this. They are so used to helping people through this. They're so used to seeing pee, poo, body parts, everything. Like, this is vomit. Like, they are used to all of this stuff. Even though it feels really weird, it might feel really weird for us, they're used to it. So I had to keep reminding myself of that I was like, is what it is. Is what it is. Like, oh well. So recovery went well. You know, they give you my hospital gave me like some juice, some graham crackers, like, very nice. So that was like it was like a pretty chill experience. I think I was in recovery for maybe like 2.5 hours in total, from like how long it took me to wake up, and then how long it took me to, after I was awake, to actually be okay enough from the anesthesia that they could let me go. Because I also had like some like low blood pressure, which is normal for me coming out of anesthesia because I have some other medical conditions as well. So just sort of as you're working through that. And then I was able to leave and go home. And a lot of people had suggested, I'd seen online, to bring a pillow to put in between your stomach and the seatbelt when you're driving home. I did that. Big tip. Definitely do that. Because you're not going to want anything touching here. It's very uncomfortable because they make incisions. Like, for my surgery, they made an incision in my belly button and then on my sides, like right here. So you're not going to want anything touching that area. So come home from surgery, I am super bloated, super uncomfortable, I'm sore. I think the worst kind of pain post-op was like this pulling sensation that I got in my lower abdomen, especially where my belly button incision was. Like, for the first like 2 days, I literally, when I was walking, I was like kind of like holding my stomach because it just hurt so much. Thankfully, that feeling kind of died down as the days have passed. So that was like a huge kind of discomfort. And then another one was the gas pain, both like the feeling of your stomach being super, super full and uncomfortable, but also like the pain travels up, the gas travels up to your shoulders and gives you shoulder pain. Not fun. So definitely recommend taking some Gas X and whatever they give you for pain. My doctors had me on kind of rotation of ibuprofen and Tylenol. They also prescribed me a oxycodone, which I didn't end up taking because I don't like taking opiates too much. I had a bad reaction to one that I took for one of my last surgeries, so I kind of, unless it's like really bad, I don't really want to go there, and my pain was pretty bearable. So I just did it with, you know, my ibuprofen and my Tylenol. I was also, and still am, on blood thinners because I am more prone to blood clots. So I do that after surgery as well. So basically, you know, you're going to have your own after surgery regimen of what they want you taking. But I think my pain was managed okay with just the ibuprofen and the Tylenol. I know a lot of people like will use heating packs or like the heating pads, maybe some ice packs. I personally didn't really use any of that after my surgery, but everyone is different and everyone has different things done and different levels of pain. So obviously, do what you need to do. That's one way to help manage the pain. I'd say another thing that was hard post-op was sleeping. So the first night, because I didn't sleep that great the night before surgery, so the night after surgery, I really wanted to try and get decent sleep if possible, which I think it's pretty hard after surgery. So I ended up, I found it really uncomfortable. I'm usually like a side sleeper. I found it really uncomfortable to sleep on my side. I could not really move that way well. So I slept on my back, and I didn't even go actually underneath the covers. I literally slept on top of my bed. I put like some blankets on top of me. But that's what I did the first night. And I think I didn't sleep on my side until maybe day 5. So it took a little while for me to actually side sleep and feel comfortable. I was doing back sleeping for quite a few nights, which I don't love. It can be quite uncomfortable. So I was very happy to eventually be able to sleep on my side again. But at first it was just too painful to do that. Um, so having the sleep be better is definitely great. I still, even a week out now, I'm still pretty bloated. I'm very bruised. The bruises are kind of slowly healing, but I've got like a massive bruise under my belly button. And so I've pretty much been wearing like pajamas, a big t-shirt, and like either a bathrobe or my comfy, which is basically like a snuggie that you wear. It's just like a wearable blanket, basically, if you don't know what that is. So I've been pretty much wearing that all week. This is actually the first day that I'm in not that. Like I changed to film. So this is the first time that I'm wearing normal clothes, as close to normal as I'm getting right now. So yeah, that's kind of been my recovery process as far as I've gotten now, like a week out. Um, it's definitely frustrating because you need help with a lot of things, especially the first couple days. They don't really want you bending over a whole lot or picking stuff up that's like heavy. So there's kind of, there's quite a few things that you can't really do super easily for yourself. Um, I'm kind of trying to start easing myself into like making sure you're walking around after surgery is great for the gas, and just like getting your body moving again. And so that's good to try to ease yourself into that, even though my doctor said that for like 2 weeks they don't want me doing any like real intense exercise because they don't want you using your abs too much. So I have to like avoid doing that for now. There really is just so much to cover after this surgery. That's not even getting into my actual, like what happened during my surgery, what they found or whatever. But yeah, so the recovery process so far has been okay. I was able to take off, I had like, I've got glue on both of my smaller incisions that are on the sides of my stomach, and then I had, I think actual stitches possibly in my belly button, and they had that covered over um, after my surgery. So the day after, I changed the dressing for that, and I showered, but I left it covered up when I showered. So I think I actually just took the covering off on day 5. A lot happened on day 5. I took the covering off on day 5. I was able to shower and I let it get wet on day 5. I don't know, every person's different. Every doctor is going to kind of recommend different things, but this is what my doctor's office said to do. And actually, it was kind of annoying because when I left my surgery, they didn't give me any discharge instructions beyond the pain meds, like what I could take with my medicine. Nobody told me what to do with um, any of the like covering on my incision, so I ended up having to call my doctor's office and sort of, ask them for that information. But definitely make sure that you're getting in touch with your doctor's office, with the hospital, or wherever you get it done if you have any questions after surgery or any concerns, anything that seems abnormal. Everyone's body's different. Everyone deals with the surgery different. Everyone heals different. So like for me, I've got like big bruising. I'm a bruiser. I bruise very easily. So I've got a lot of dark bruising under my stomach and still bloated. I also have other GI issues that cause bloating, so this is sort of like compounded, which is rough. So definitely just, your body, make sure that you're keeping watch on those things and get in touch with people if you've got questions. And I hope for anyone else who's ends up getting this surgery done or has gotten it done, that your recovery has gone well or goes well, because it definitely can be quite tough to deal with. I'm going to take a brief water break. So we're going to get into the next part of this video, or potentially this series of videos, which is going to be discussing how my surgery went, what they found, and kind of where I'm going from here. So when my doctor did my surgery, she found that my insides looked pretty healthy. They looked pretty good. I got a couple pictures of it. I didn't get to talk to my doctor after my surgery because I was still out from the anesthesia because I took so long to wake up, and she had another surgery. So I didn't get to speak to her then. My mom did talk to her, and she said that my insides looked good. There was one area that they took a biopsy from because it looked thick. So coming out of the surgery, getting those results, I thought I did not have endometriosis, or that if I did, they just didn't find anything. I didn't have anything excised, minus the area, that the little bit that they took a biopsy from, because my surgeon didn't find anything that they could see that was besides that area evidence of endometriosis. So I might make a separate video talking about, getting into what that feels like, the getting, figuring out whatever, dealing with the results, I guess, of a surgery like this. So coming out of the surgery, I didn't think I had endometriosis. Cue to yesterday when I get the biopsy results and I find out that that was endometrial tissue that they took a biopsy from. So I do have endometriosis, which once I found that out, I was sobbing. For a while, I was pretty upset. It was like a very complex feeling, both like relief at knowing now that was what was causing all my pain, and also sadness at having to deal with this now. So going forward from here, I have my post-op appointment with my doctor a month from now. I couldn't get in sooner, which is frustrating, but I was able to get a virtual appointment with her next week. So I'm going to talk to her about the results and, figure out where we go from here, with treatment or any further testing that can be done to figure out where else the endometriosis might be. So that's a lot. And for anyone else who's getting this surgery done or has gotten this surgery done, it's hard. And I think leaning on people that you have in your life, going on the internet and finding other people's stories is so helpful. I'm getting a little teary, but it's a hard journey to be on. It's hard to not have answers, and it can be hard to have answers as well. It's just really tough. Navigating women's healthcare is very stressful. It can feel very isolating. I think that's something that I've been feeling a lot throughout this process, and now having this new diagnosis, is that it feels quite isolating, even though I have people in my life who are very, very kind, very supportive, very empathetic. It's still, unless you have experienced this yourself, it's very hard to really kind of connect on that same level of understanding what it's like to deal with endometriosis for like a decade at this point. So I hope that this video is helpful. I think I'm going to end up making another one, talking more about the emotional side of getting that diagnosis, and then also where we go from here, where I go from here, what this means for me, and sort of how I'm coping with that, because there's a lot of weight to getting a diagnosis after years of suffering. I hope that you have a good day, and thank you for listening to me